Hello everyone, and welcome to today's English listening story. If you are learning English, this is a great place to practice your listening and reading at the same time. Try to relax, listen carefully, and enjoy the story. Today's story is called The Little Coffee Shop. It is a gentle story about loneliness, friendship, and how small places can sometimes change our lives. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's begin. The Little Coffee Shop. Emma moved to a new city about a year ago. At first, everything felt unfamiliar to her. The streets looked different. The buildings were taller than the ones in her hometown. Even the weather felt colder and quieter. Emma had moved to the city for a new job. She worked at a small bookstore not far from her apartment. The bookstore was cozy and peaceful. Emma spent most of her day organizing books, helping customers, and sometimes reading during quiet moments. She loved books very much. Books had always been a special part of her life. When she was younger, books helped her escape difficult days. They helped her travel to places she had never seen. They helped her understand people and emotions. But even though Emma enjoyed her job, something was missing. She did not know many people in the city. After work, she usually walked home alone. Sometimes she cooked a simple dinner. Sometimes she watched a movie. Sometimes she simply sat by the window and looked outside. From her apartment window, Emma could see people walking along the street. Some people walked quickly, looking busy and focused. Some people laughed with friends. Some people held hands while walking together. Emma watched quietly. Sometimes she felt a little lonely, but she told herself that moving to a new city always takes time. Friendships do not appear overnight. Life slowly grows, just like a plant. One evening, after finishing work at the bookstore, Emma decided to take a different route home. The sun was beginning to set, and the sky was painted with soft orange and pink colors. The streetlights slowly turned on. As Emma walked down a quiet street, she noticed something she had never seen before. It was a small coffee shop. The shop was not big or fancy, but it looked warm and inviting. Soft yellow lights shined through the windows. Inside, Emma could see a few people sitting quietly. Some were reading books, some were talking softly, some were simply enjoying their coffee. Emma stopped walking and looked through the window. The place looked peaceful. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she thought, why not? She gently opened the door and stepped inside. The smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Warm music played quietly in the background. Behind the counter stood a friendly, middle-aged man. He looked up and smiled. "Hello," he said kindly. "What would you like?" Emma smiled back. "Just a cup of coffee, please." The man nodded and began preparing the drink. While he worked, he said, "My name is Daniel. I own this coffee shop." Emma felt comfortable hearing his friendly voice. "Nice to meet you," she replied. "My name is Emma." Soon, Daniel handed her the cup of coffee. "Here you go." Emma thanked him and looked around the shop. There were only a few tables. She chose a small table near the window. Outside, the evening street looked calm and quiet. Emma slowly drank her coffee. It was warm and rich. For the first time that day, she felt completely relaxed. Before Emma left, Daniel said, "You are welcome to come here anytime." Emma smiled. "I think I will." The next evening, Emma returned to the coffee shop. Daniel greeted her immediately. "Good to see you again, Emma." She ordered the same drink and sat in the same seat near the window. Soon, Emma began noticing the regular customers. There was an elderly woman who always sat in the same corner. She knitted colorful scarves while drinking tea. Her name was Margaret. Margaret loved telling stories about her younger days. "Life was very different back then," she often said with a laugh. Emma enjoyed listening to her stories. There was also a university student named Kevin. Kevin came to the shop almost every evening with his laptop and textbooks. He studied engineering. Sometimes he looked very tired. "Exams are coming," he often said nervously. Emma would encourage him. "You can do it, just keep studying." And there was a young man named Leo. Leo spent hours writing in a small notebook. One day Emma asked him, "What are you writing?" Leo smiled shyly. "I'm trying to write a novel." Emma was impressed. "That sounds amazing," she said. Leo laughed softly. "It's harder than it sounds." Slowly, the coffee shop became Emma's favorite place in the city. Every evening after work, she walked there. Daniel always welcomed her warmly. Margaret shared stories. Kevin studied with determination. Leo continued writing his book. The coffee shop was not loud or crowded, but it was full of life. Everyone there had their own story. Everyone there was quietly trying their best. One rainy evening, Emma arrived at the coffee shop looking worried. Daniel noticed immediately. "Is everything okay?" he asked gently. Emma sighed. "I'm just feeling a little lost lately." Daniel nodded with understanding. "Sometimes life feels that way," he said. Emma looked around the small shop. Margaret was knitting again. Kevin was studying with deep concentration. Leo was writing page after page. Daniel said softly, "You see these people? They all come here with different stories, different problems, different dreams." Emma listened carefully. "But they keep going," Daniel continued, "step by step." Emma thought about his words. She realized something important. No one's life was perfect. Everyone had struggles. Everyone had moments of doubt. But people continued moving forward. Slowly, patiently, one day at a time. Over time, Emma began to change. She smiled more often. She talked more with customers at the bookstore. And one evening, inspired by Leo, Emma started writing short stories in a notebook. At first, she was nervous, but Leo encouraged her. "You have a good imagination," he said. "You should keep writing." Emma felt proud of herself. 1 year later, Emma looked back at her life. Moving to the new city had once felt scary and lonely. But now, things were different. She had friends. She had confidence. And she had a small coffee shop that felt like a second home. One evening, Emma sat by the window again. The sun was setting outside. The sky was glowing with orange and pink light. Emma smiled quietly. Sometimes the smallest places can make the biggest difference in our lives. Sometimes all we need is a warm cup of coffee, a friendly smile, and the courage to keep going. And sometimes a little coffee shop can feel like home. And that is the end of today's story. I hope you enjoyed listening to The Little Coffee Shop. If you are learning English, remember that listening to stories regularly is one of the best ways to improve your vocabulary and understanding. Take your time, listen again if you need to, and most importantly, enjoy the process of learning. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope to see you again in the next English story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye for now.